Living off the grid sounds romantic. No nosy neighbors, no utility bills, just pure freedom. But what happens when reality sets in? In this second part of our series, we're diving into the hidden struggles of off-the-grid living that fiction writers can't afford to overlook. From the long trek to medical help, if medicine even exists in your world, to the challenges of storing insulin without refrigeration, self-entertainment in isolation itself, and the costly repairs that make modern conveniences a double-edged sword. We'll uncover farm chemicals and why water can make or break a harvest, and how every trip into town feels like a journey in and of itself. If your story hinges on realism, these details will take your story into the next level. Welcome to Writing Rule with Allie, the Fiction Writers Weekly inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles, from historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. I'm Allie, and this is episode number 108, Isolation, Hardship, and the Hidden Cost. The dark side of going off the grid. Stick around to the end to find out all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. Now, let's get into this. Last we left off at medicine after an apocalypse, so let's pick up here. In modern times, if your off-the-grid character wants medicine, they will have to do one of a few things. Drive all the way into town, or if they're far enough off the grid, such as the Alaskan wilderness, they'll have to trek into a town. However far away that is. For this very reason, most of us stock up on basic medicines before we need them. Acetaminophen, commonly called Tylenol here, aspirin, cold and flu medicines, Band-Aids, hot water bottles, ice packs, rubbing alcohol, peroxide, allergy medicines, normally called Benadryl here, and these types of things. In fact, one of my favorite baby shower gifts was infant Tylenol. I would have never thought to get this before the first time that my kid was sick, something I never made the same mistake of with the rest of my kids. Another important one is that if there is no electricity, how will your character keep any meds that need refrigerated cool enough? Insulin is the one that comes to mind, but some other types of medicines also need refrigerated. Small solar generators could be used to run a mini refrigerator. Ice could be used in coolers if they live in an area where ice is available. Most gas stations carry ice, and in rural areas, we do have gas stations unless they are too far into the wilderness. If it is winter, snow in a cooler would do. There are also ice houses and spring houses that would work like refrigerators and would do. Other things that being in rural settings means your characters will have to travel to find or do, or will just have to live without. These include, but are not limited to, going out to eat, getting groceries or animal feed, new clothing, new shoes as they wear out faster out here because we do a lot more walking, tools, the DMV, or, in historical times, to church or the general store. Most rural places, at least here in my area, have churches that are not too far. All this is to say, going into town is, or at least can be, an ordeal. And most people will limit how many times they do it. Wilderness off the grid is normally only once or twice a year. Closer to towns are once or twice a week. Most people that I know go once a week to once a month. It seems that the older people get, the longer between trips, but that might just be the people that I know. Speaking of how far off the grid people are, this can lead into feelings of isolation and loneliness. If your character is an extrovert, feeling energized by being around people, this could be torture for them. I can tell you that even introverts can start to feel like this after a time. My father is one of those examples. He was thrilled to retire and not have to deal with people every day. He even did great only going to town once a month for years. But after a few years, he would be lonely and start looking forward to seeing people. One thing we all noticed is that without people there to speak to, often the less common words would sometimes be forgotten, and he would use simpler words and phrases. Another thing to consider is that people living in rural life, unless they're rich, need to know how to do a little bit of everything. Let me give you an example. If my water pipe sprung a hole, I would need to be able to turn off the water at either the house or the well, or to be able to cut the power to the well. Okay, I know, many city people know how to do this too. But did you know that if I call someone out here to fix it, it's double the cost of someone in town? because we're so far away, and because wells have a different water pressure than city water does. Most of us find that ridiculous, and so we've learned to do many major repairs ourselves. Personally, I can do pipes, replace toilets, replace copper gas lines, patch drywall, paint any area of the house, install a porch swing, run fencing, set corner posts, gates, shingle roofs, replace doors, run a chainsaw if a tree goes down, routine vehicle and tractor maintenance, and a lot more. I'm even getting ready to learn how to install an electric fence. In modern times, we all hoard instructional books like the world will end. I literally found a Sears hot water heater owner manual from the 1950s in a filing cabinet. I have known other people that have found records of horses kept on the farm since the 1800s, and all kinds of horse books with new ones bought as new things came out. By new things, I mean articles about antibiotics and horseshoe metals. Honestly, it's not a matter of if things go wrong, or as we call it, go down, but when will they go down? Nothing lasts forever. If your character is smart, they will save the money they are saving on bills and save it for when things happen and they need it. However, if your character is in a historical setting, they would have to know this information themselves along with many day-to-day things. This includes, but is not limited to, gardening, foraging, identifying edible plants, identifying poisonous plants, how to milk a cow, how to make butter, how to care for livestock, how to preserve food for the winter, and a whole lot more. All of this will likely be needed after an apocalypse too. Physical books to read and refer to will be invaluable to your characters. People with these skills will be highly sought after, and could even be kidnapped and forced to do as told by a group of people. Sadly, forced compliance would be a huge risk after an apocalypse. And let's not forget that no matter when or where you're writing, your characters will not always have the tools to do the job, or the correct tools. Digging a hole for anything in a rock country, which is a rocky landscape, is insanely difficult without a rock bar. I know because I have sadly had to do it. Many times, your character will be forced to improvise, adapt, and overcome. In fact, this has sometimes led to better outcomes than if it was done with the traditional tools or techniques. Get creative here, because I promise you, people are. A modern thing is that many rural homes, okay, more likely an outbuilding of some kind, have a lot of chemicals in them. This can be cleaning supplies, fuel, oil, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, paint, PVC glue, and cleaner, fertilizers, antibiotics, lime, ethanol, and disinfectants are the most common. Your characters will need to know how to use them safely. And if there's a fire, these areas will burn much hotter than normal fires. One important thing to note is true. Living off the grid in modern times can be very challenging to sustain in the long run. Yes, it can be done, and the Amish are living proof of that. But it's not as easy as people believe. The Amish have learned how important community is in a way that most people today do not understand. It can become even more difficult if your character is farming outside of a community of farmers. Farming can come with years where they have bumper crops. A bumper crop means that the crop is bigger than expected and they're able to bring in more money. Other years, the entire crop can be destroyed by heat, cold, insects, disease, floods, droughts, and many more things. This means they don't even break even. Here in the US, we have some protections for our farmers to help with this, but they don't in history and are not likely to after an apocalypse. Now, depending on where and what era you're writing, your character will be doing a lot of walking, riding a bike, riding a horse, or driving a wagon or vehicle. Riding a bicycle into town could take hours of a person's day in modern times. Many times people can walk long distances even on their own land. I have a smaller amount of land in my area, and it would likely take me a good hour or more to walk around the whole thing. Sometimes that could be needed to check fence lines, check the cattle, or even check for poachers. Something that is sadly more common than most people realize. Now let's cover a few individual downsides that some people love and others hate with a passion. These will be more exclusive to the individual characters. First up is setting your own schedule. I personally love this, but I know many people who do not. The lack of structure or routine for the day can be hard for some people. They can be overwhelmed by all that needs to be done and are not sure how to structure things so that everything gets done in a timely manner while not taking too much time. Others need accountability to get things done. Many times, people who need these things can suffer from crippling to overwhelming anxiety and will look to anyone or anything to tell them how to do things. If they think they're failing, they can feel depressed, and it can be a nasty spiral. Characters like this would be best with other characters that could help them understand how to set a schedule or could just set a schedule for them. If your characters are doomsday preppers, it's best that they test all of these things before the apocalypse, something that most doomsdayers do. They also tend to work in groups, so understanding the interperson dynamics before the end of the world as we know it will be valuable and help them to work together better. Another thing to remember is that if there is no electricity, you are the entertainment. Or more accurately, your character is the entertainment. Whether they're playing board games, telling stories, playing tag, teaching skills, or something else, it's important to remember that they now have to entertain themselves. Trust me, people will do just fine if they can't use a phone. Because after the teenage whining, they will not sit around twiddling their thumbs. The last very individualized thing to know is that everyone will hate something different. My dad would have hated to sit around knitting all day. While he liked knitted socks and knitted hats, sitting still was not something he enjoyed. Personally, I hate gardening. I know everyone else loves it and finds it relaxing. I still don't, and I don't know why they do. Sure, I love the produce. That's why I garden. But I do not like it. Now, this is likely true in every aspect of life. You like some things and hate others. Your characters will be the same. Knowing what they dread doing and what they can't wait to get started on will add realism to your stories. One quick reminder before we get into all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. To help others find this content, pop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. Or if you're watching on YouTube, drop me a comment and say hello or ask a question. I love to hear from you guys. And it is the best way to help others find my content. Now, for everyone's favorite parts, what could possibly go wrong in your story? Likely to go wrong. Your character didn't think to get medicine before they needed it, and are forced to drive into town when they're sick to get the medicine they need for a fever. Also likely to go wrong. Your character's truck breaks down, and they can't fix it themselves. They have to have it towed into a mechanic in town, and the tow costs a large chunk of money for driving that far. Possible to go wrong. Your character is fixing a burst pipe made of PVC. They try gluing the new pipe on and accidentally glue it to their hand. Also possible to go wrong. Your character did not store gasoline correctly, and the fumes leak into the home with a fireplace for warmth. This could be deadly. Unlikely to go wrong. Your character spends so long off the grid that their vocal cords are permanently damaged from lack of use. Also unlikely to go wrong. Your farming character has been injured. Without a community to help bring in the crops that are ready, the crops will rot in the field. Improbable, but still technically in their own possibilities. Your character survives the apocalypse and needs to learn how to survive. They are forced to use old encyclopedia sets to learn how things worked in an effort to recreate some sense of normalcy and shelter. Also improbable, but still technically in their own possibilities. Your character joins a doomsday group and everyone hates to garden. When the apocalypse happens, no one knows how to garden. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy wordsmithing.